For those who don't know, well, we see in scriptures in Exodus 3 that when Yahweh chose Moshe to bring Israel out of Egypt, Moshe, since he had been raised by the Egyptians, he had been raised by Pharaoh pretty much, he had knowledge of the spiritual world according to the Egyptians. So he had knowledge, at least regarding how the Egyptians worshipped so many idols in the world. So since Moshe knew the importance of names regarding those idols, reason why Pharaoh, who was the leader of the Egyptian people, who were the ones that had all the idols of the world, and whatever idol they did not know, they would go and, regarding all the nations, they would go and find out and put it in writing so that they would know, according to their belief, all the gods of creation. So when Moshe is called by the Almighty, and the Almighty tells Moshe to go and take out the people of Israel from Egypt, Moshe does something that nobody had done since the beginning, which was to ask his name, which is so important. It's so amazing also that nobody had asked it. Now, as I have explained, also because of certain things we read in Genesis, from Adam came Seth and then Enosh, that in his time people began to invoke the name of Yahweh. That's how it is written. And there are two ways to explain that. One is the Jewish way, in which they say that what it means is that they actually began to pray. They began to look for the name. They began to look for his presence, which is represented by his name. So that's why it is written that way. Also, the other reason why the name Yahweh is found even in Genesis, even though Moshe asked it in Exodus, is because it was Moshe who wrote Genesis. So even though, according to certain writings, the name was given until Moshe, before that it appears on scriptures because it was Moshe who wrote everything from Genesis to Deuteronomy. The other opinion, or the other possibility, is that the Almighty did give the name Yahweh to Adam, or Seth in this case, and Seth taught it to his son, and that's why they would have begun to preach or teach the name, invoke the name in prayer. Then we see that Babel happened, and the languages were changed, and a bunch of other things. So the other possibility is that the name got lost in Babel, and that's why when Abraham came, he didn't know the name, he didn't have the name, and that's why when Moshe asked Yahweh regarding his name, Yahweh told him that he had not revealed himself to Abraham, nor to Yitzhak, nor Jacob with that name. That is why I was saying that there are two opinions regarding if the name was known by humans before that or not. The point is, Yahweh said that Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob did not know the name, so there is a possibility that some knew it before that, but it got lost. And that would have been an example or prophetical shadow of what would happen after Moshe. Because even though Yahweh revealed himself to Moshe and gave him his name, then we see that through history, the Pharisees, the priests of the moment, decided that it was better to hide it. So they hid it and basically told the people that it was forbidden for them to invoke the name, so they shouldn't speak it. So they changed scriptures when it came to the name to make the priests pronounce a different word, basically a title, instead of the name when they would read scriptures. So they wouldn't take out Yahweh because they thought that was a sin, but they would put vowel points on the name Yahweh to make the reader pronounce it differently. So that's how the whole mess started. And then the translators got the Hebrew scriptures with those vowel points and ended up making a new name, which is the one that most people invoke today. There are over 400, well, pretty much like 454 verses in scriptures talking about the importance of the name. And I'm talking about the regular scriptures, because if we add certain other books like Enoch, Yashar, the Gnostic books, we would find a bunch of other verses. So I would say like 600. But in the regular scriptures that most Christians have, over 450 verses regarding the importance of the name, of the name of the Father and the Son. So I'm not going to read them all because it would take us like 3 studies. But I'm just going to read a couple. The one that I was mentioning from Exodus, which is when Moshe asked the name. in Exodus 6:3 it says, I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov as Elohim Shaddai, as El Shaddai, the Almighty, pretty much. Shaddai means Almighty, omnipotent. El means Mighty One. So the Mighty One who can do all things, El Shaddai. So that was the name that was given, or that Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov would use, because that's the name through which the Almighty revealed to the patriarchs. So it says, verse 2 of Exodus 6, and Elohim spoke to Moshe and said to him, I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov as El Shaddai. But by my name, Yahweh, I was not known to them. I was not known to them. So the reason why the name appears even in the mouth of these men, one reason is because Moshe was the one who wrote their stories. The other reason is that the name Yahweh is a verb. Let me go to another verse. Exodus 3:15. It says, 14 says, and Elohim said to Moshe, Eyeh asher eyeh. They normally translate that as I am who I am, which is wrong because it is actually future tense. So it should be, I will be whom I will be, whoever I want to be. There are several ways to interpret that and the reason why Yahweh said it, but just to continue with the point of the teaching, it is the same verb that is used for the name. However, he is using it in the first person, saying I will be. First person in the future, so that's why I will be. In Hebrew, eyeh, eyeh. So this is the verb, haya, haya. We read from right to left. So ha-ya. So right there we can see how the pronunciation of the yud and the hey is pronounced ya, ha-ya. Now, in this word that I just said, eyeh, eyeh asher eyeh, I am who I am, or I will be whom I will be, eyeh. Some people pronounce that as aya. This is a letter that, depending on the word, the way it is pronounced. In Hebrew, there are 22 letters, consonants. Of those 22, there are 5 that also work as vowels. So depending on the word in which they appear, how they are pronounced. In English, it happens a lot. The pronunciation of the English language is not the same all the time. Depending on the word, you know how certain letters should be pronounced. There are many words that if they were to be pronounced the same way, nobody would understand what is being said. So the pronunciation of the English language is interesting, sometimes confusing. I'm just mentioning that to understand that there are certain words in which certain letters are pronounced a bit different. That kind of shows how that happens in Hebrew. When it comes to, for instance, Spanish, which I will use that for a moment just to explain. In English, the vowels are pronounced A, E, I, O, U. But in Spanish, they are a little bit simpler, which is A, E, I, O, U. My point is that in English, they become pretty much syllables, like A, I, U. So you could form those 3 letters with 2 letters. In Spanish, each vowel is pretty much just one sound. A, E, I, O, U. So that's why I want to explain that, because when I explain the pronunciation in Hebrew, that is going to help. Since in Hebrew, that part of the pronunciation of the letters is a lot like Spanish. There are some certain letters in Hebrew that are pronounced more like they would be pronounced in Spanish. That's why I am mentioning the vowels. So the aleph, depending on the word, will be pronounced as almost any of this, depending on the word. But the most common of the aleph is the A and the E, pronounced as A and E. So that's why some say haya, some say eyeh. I repeat, I believe for several reasons that it should be eyeh. That means that this pronunciation changes when you add this letter, goes from haya, which is the verb, to eyeh once you do it in the first person future. Since this is the first letter of the alphabet, is used for the first person, and since it is for something that has to happen in the future, is added at the beginning to show that it is something that hasn't happened yet. When the word is past, the letter is added at the end to show that it has already happened. When the word is present, there is a vav, which is a nail, that is added in the middle to basically put that word in the present time. So in Exodus 3:14, It says, and Elohim said to Moshe, Eyeh asher eyeh, and he said, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Eyeh has sent me to you. Moreover, Elohim said to Moshe, and this is key, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, the Elohim of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. So even though Yahweh says, I am Eyeh asher eyeh, you will tell them Eyeh sent me. Moreover, Elohim told him, this you shall say, Yahweh Elohim sent me. So he changes, in appearance, the name Eyeh for Yahweh. Why would that be? Because it goes from being first person to being third person. Because now Moshe has to speak about Yahweh to the nation. So instead of Yahweh saying, I will be whom I will be, he is telling Moshe to go and tell the people, he will be. So instead of I will be, Eyeh, it would have to be he will be, because now Moshe would be speaking about the Almighty in the third person. So the pronunciation of that verb would change. And that's why Yahweh told something extra to Moshe, saying, go tell him, Yahweh is my name forever and ever. So even though he said in the previous verse, you shall say to the children of Israel, Eyeh has sent me to you. Moreover, Elohim said to Moshe, thus, so this is the way that you should say it. Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, Elohim of Abraham, Elohim of Yitzhak, Elohim of Jacob. Elohim is a title that means mighty ones. So pretty much is saying Yahweh, who is the mighty one of your fathers, the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Yitzhak, the mighty one of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name. This is my name. He didn't say that when he said Eyeh, because there are a lot of people that say, no, that is his name, Eyeh. So they say Hayah. But we see that Yahweh added something, changing the pronunciation to the future third person, because Moshe would have to speak about him, and then the rest of the world would have to invoke his name in the third person. So that's why Yahweh said his name, Yahweh, and then said that that one would be his name forever and ever, for all the generations. And as we read in the book of Malachi, Yahweh does not change. Yahweh does not change. And so if Yahweh does not change, and he said that his name would be the same forever, then we have confirmation by two witnesses that the name should remain the same until the end. And nobody could say nothing, as they do when they say that it doesn't matter, for instance, or that he knows their heart. If he knows their heart, he knows that they don't want to make that little effort of knowing his true name and calling him through that name, to respect him as the creator of all, and best of all, our Father. When he did that change, this Hayah became this. So as you can see, this is the verb Hayah, which is he was. Here we see that it's pretty much as if you would take this first hey and then add a vav and a hey. It's pretty much what has happened. But just to explain real fast, this is the name as written in Hebrew. Yud hey vav hey. The Yud is for the male third person in the future. So we see there that Yahweh presents himself as a male. Then, as I already explained, these two letters are pronounced Yah, as in Hayah, and as in Eliyah, and a bunch of other prophets. So Yah, as also in the Psalms, David calls Yahweh by this title, Yah. Actually, the name Yahweh, as you can see, has 4 letters, so it can be separated in 2 and 2, and that represents the 2 manifestations of Yahweh on earth, first and last. So that's why in Psalms David would pronounce Yah, because he would invoke Yahweh through the first, being David a representation of the last. First and last, Yahweh. So it should be clear that these first 2 letters are pronounced Yah, just as it should be very clear that these 3 are pronounced Yahu. Yahu. That's why when you look in a concordance, you will see that the name of Isaiah was Yeshayahu. The name of Jeremiah was Yirmyahu. The name of Elijah was Eliyahu, etc., etc., etc. So Yahu is the pronunciation of these 3 letters whenever they appear, wherever they appear. However, the Jewish people changed it. For instance, not calling Eliyahu anymore like that, for instance, calling him Eli back in the day. And that's why when Yahushua was on the tree, dying on the cross, he said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, and they thought he was calling Elijah, because they followed those prohibitions of the Pharisees not to pronounce Yahu. So these 3 letters are Yahu, and you can also check it nowadays through the name of the Prime Minister of Israel, whose name is Benjamin Netanyahu. And if you look at his name in Hebrew, you will see that the Yahu of the end of Netanyahu is these 3 letters, Yahu. So there are many examples to know and show why and how these 3 letters are pronounced Yahu. So the issue now in days with certain people is that they are pronouncing this name Yahweh, because, well, I guess there are many reasons, but perhaps one of those reasons is that they find it hard to believe that letters can be pronounced 2 different ways depending on the word where they appear or in the place where they appear. So since it is pronounced as a here, then they decide to pronounce it as a here, and that's it. Let's finish it. They leave it at that, and they use it like that. So they pronounce Yahweh. However, there are a couple issues regarding that. Most words, for instance, nouns, when they have a hey at the end, that makes the word feminine. So it also happens in Spanish. That is something that doesn't happen in English. Words they are either male or female. So depending on that, the article that you use at the beginning, at least in Spanish, in Hebrew is the same article all the time, but the hey at the end makes the word feminine. So if it is a hey and it is pronounced then it's more common, it's possible, and I will say the other possibility, it's possible for that word to be feminine. In most times when there is a hey, it's feminine and it's pronounced When there is a hey and the word is pronounced is because it's masculine. For instance, we have the example of Moshe, Moses, ends in hey. We have the example of Menashe, ends in hey. Then some other people, and that's for the other possibility or the other reason, some people will use the name Yahudah, which is Judah, which is a name of a male, Yahudah. It ends with a hey, and it is pronounced So some people say, you see, that it should be pronounced with an A, because Yahudah is pretty much the name Yahweh with a dalet between the hey and the vav. So Yahudah ends with a hey, pronounced and is a male. So they use that as an excuse to say that Yahweh should be pronounced Yahweh. However, when we look into it a little bit further, we will see that there is a different reason why that happens, why that is. And that is because this word Yahweh is in the, like I already said, male, future, third person, imperfect. If the word is a perfect future, it would be pronounced the hey at the end as a But if the verb is future imperfect, then it should be pronounced as a And that is the case with Yahweh, because Yahweh means he who causes existence. He who causes existence. Because Haya is he exists, or he existed, he was. Yahweh is he will cause existence. He will make everything exist, or he will exist forever. So since it is forever and there won't be a stop to his existence, then it is imperfect. So if there was an end to his existence, if he were to finish and stop existing at a certain point and make everything stop existing, then it would be Yahweh. But the fact that it is third person future imperfect makes it Yahweh, as you can check in the concordance regarding the vowel points that would be in a verb when it is pronounced or to mean male, third person, future, imperfect. So that would be the correct pronunciation. The right vowels would be I, A, U, E, Yahweh, Yahweh. And to confirm that, they have found several places, well, back in the day, written in Latin with the letters that most people would use nowadays. They found it in a couple ways. One, which I will show here, using all the vowels. So we see that the name Yahweh should be pronounced using all the vowels. They found it like this. and I will pronounce, like, it will be closer to the Spanish pronunciation of the vowels, just in case. Yahweh. Yahweh. They found it written in Latin back in the day, couple places, with only vowels. And then, if you go ahead and read the books of Josephus, historian, Jewish historian, you will find that he said that the name Yahweh, which was the name that the Jewish people didn't pronounce, only the high priest one day at a year within the most set apart place so that nobody could hear him, only he would pronounce the name there hidden one day a year, and that name was forbidden to be spoken. So Josephus himself, who wasn't a true believer, says that he will avoid saying the name, but he will explain it, and the way he does it is saying that it is formed by four vowels, meaning the four letters. However, of the four letters, there are actually three, one of which repeats at the end. So there are three letters, three consonants, one of which repeats. But he said four vowels, meaning that the four letters are pronounced as vowels. So they are four different vowels. So that means that even though this letter repeats, its pronunciation is different when it does repeat. He said four vowels. So if we were to take one vowel out of the five, it would be the O, because the Vav is pronounced as a U. So we would have these four vowels. Like I've said, of the 22 Hebrew letters, there are 5 that are pronounced as vowels. Of those 5, 3 are found in the name Yahweh. This is as an I, which will be pronounced I in Spanish. That's what I'm saying. That's why in English it is common to write a Y here, then a H, then a W, and then an H. That's how normally you'll find it in English. YHWH, as in the way of Yahweh.org, for instance, our website, which will be the equivalent in the letters of the English alphabet. But the pronunciation is the issue here. So that's why I'm using the vowels, because Josephus said that they are vowels. Like I said, for better understanding, the vowels according to the way we would pronounce them in Spanish. So this would be ia, ia, ia. This would be ue, ue. So through 4 vowels, as Josephus said in his book, we can find that the name is Yahweh. And like I said, those vowels, those letters were found in Latin, being used to write the name of the Almighty, which in Hebrew would be this, I repeat. And it would be with an I, or Yahweh, with a finishing E, because the way it's conjugated, which is third person male future imperfect. So Yahweh. I hope that is clear. Now, when the Pharisees, with time, as written in Jeremiah 8:8, the scribes, they decided to change the writings, the scriptures. The main reason that they started dealing with the name or messing up the name was that there is a commandment. One of the 10 commandments says not to use the name in vain. So the priests, seeing the people as vain, thought that it was pointless for them to have the name because they would only use it for sinning. So they thought that the people were sinners, being themselves sinners. But my point is that they took away from the people the free will that Yahweh gave us. The commandments are about free will. You can do whatever you want, but you should do this and that. But the priests, thinking that the people weren't able to fulfill the commandments, they decided to take the name away from them so that they wouldn't break that commandment. However, by taking away the name for them not to break the 3rd commandment, what they were doing was actually make them break a bunch of other commandments, because the name is the key of knowledge, as written also in Luke 11. The name is what allows us to connect with the Almighty through prayer. When we invoke the name, it's like a telephone number. We call on that name and he answers. If we call on a different name, somebody else will answer. And that is why Yahweh told us not to have idols, which is the 2nd commandment, but to have his name, which is the 3rd commandment. That's why he said that he would build a temple to place his name in that temple, not to place an image, but his name. But people don't care about the name. They want images. They want emotions and a bunch of other things that have nothing to do with truth, which is sad. So the priests, what they did, they told the scribes, and this is, well, when it got worst is in the time of the Greek Empire, when Antiochus, who is a representation of the beast, prohibited them from using the name, keeping the Shabbat, circumcising their children, and reading Torah. So when the Maccabees finally got power back, the priests decided that the forbidden the name was a good idea. So they decided to keep the name hidden from the people right after that. So they told the scribes to add vowel points, because at that time the Hebrew pronunciation was starting to get lost. So before that happened, they decided to add vowel points so that people would remember how to pronounce the words in Hebrew. So what they did is that when the name Yahweh appeared, they changed the vowel points to that of Elohim or that of Adonai. So when Yahweh Elohim appeared, the priest would pronounce Adonai Elohim. So they added the A-O-A of Adonai, the letters for Yahweh. So the consonants now in English would be Y-H-W-H. So when they added the vowels of Adonai, and then the translators came to translate the name, the rest of the scriptures with the name, but when they saw the name with those vowels, they translated it as it was pronounced, because it was a name. So they ended up with Jehovah. They changed the vowels of Yahweh to Adonai so that the priest would pronounce Adonai Elohim, even though the name was there, Yahweh. So they added vowels to it. When it said Yahweh Adonai, when it would say Yahweh Adonai, they would change the letters for Elohim, E-O-I, so that the priest would pronounce Elohim Adonai instead of Yahweh Adonai, E-O-I. So they ended up with the pronunciation Yehovah or Yahweh. But then the priests, since there would be two different names, they decided to keep the E of Elohim, the O of both Elo and Adonai, and the A of Adonai. So the vowels that they ended up adding were the E-O-A. So that's how they ended up with Yehovah, E-O-A, Yehovah, with the same consonants, but with the vowels of Elohim and Adonai mixed. They ended up with Jehovah, which is how people call it in English. Jehovah, if we were to look in the concordance, the word Hova means ruin. So he is the one that causes ruin, while Yahweh means he who causes existence. So it is interesting to see how the enemy got into the whole idea of the priests in order for them to change the name, to make it a name that would mean that which describes the enemy, the destroyer. So the consonants of Yahweh with the vowels E-O-A made the translator write Jehovah. And then in the 17th century, the I received a hook under it, and it became a J, and it received this new sound, and that's where people got the Jehovah instead of they got Jehovah, just like Jesus, which is obviously a different name, which is also a perversion. It's not a true version of the name, but it's a perversion. So after the priests, they prohibited the people from pronouncing the name got lost. Then Mashiach came to the world, and he taught the name. He spoke about the name, and he said that he would teach it again. So he said that he would come twice to teach the name. Christians are not expecting anything regarding the name. They're not expecting anything regarding Messiah coming to earth. They're only expecting passing by and taking him away. But he said that he would come and teach it again. In John 17:6, it says, I have manifested your name. Manifest is to reveal. It would be as saying, I have taught your name. I have revealed to them what is your name. So John 17:6, I have manifested your name to the men whom you have given me out of the world. They were yours. You gave them to me, and they have kept your word. In the same chapter 17 of John, verse 26, he repeats, and I have declared to them your name. Why would Yahushua have to declare the name of the Almighty to the disciples? If they were disciples, if they had the Torah, if they had Moshe, if Moshe revealed the name, if it was written, etc., etc. Why would Yahushua, why would he have to reveal the name to the disciples? Because the Pharisees had taken it away, and they thought that it was forbidden, as they do nowadays. And the people thought, some people perhaps, that it wasn't important, as people do nowadays. Well, I doubt that part back in the day, because they knew the importance of names so much that they had so much fear regarding pronouncing it. But nowadays, people went to the other extreme, in which they say that it just doesn't matter, because they don't care about what they name their children, just that it sounds nice, and which makes it hard for them, because when they hear a different language like Yahweh, Yahushua, Hebrew, they either find it funny, embarrassing, or think that they shouldn't change the way they pronounce or use the name to refer to the Almighty, when he himself said that he doesn't change. That is his name. So people are embarrassed sometimes to invoke the true names, to teach the true names. And Yahushua said, if you are embarrassed about me, I will be embarrassed about you before the Father and his angels. But if you teach, if you preach my name before men, I will pronounce your name. I will tell my Father and his angels your name. So Yahushua taught the name, as we see here. It says, and I have declared to them your name, and I will declare it. That is a prophecy, huge prophecy. Yahushua was about to be killed and leave the earth, go to the right hand of the Father. And he himself said that he would declare it again. So he would have to manifest once again to declare the name. But people don't see it, because they haven't been taught that. So when they go and read scriptures, they kind of skip that, because they don't have it in their mind, because of the teachings that they have gotten in Christianity. So, and I have declared to them your name, and I will declare it, that the love with which you love me may be in them, and I in them. So through the name, his love comes to us and dwells within us, and we become one with him. That is why also in John 1 verse 12 it says, but as many as received him, Mashiach, to them he gave the right to become children of Elohim, children of Yahweh, to those who believe in his name. So only those who believe in his name, Yahushua, are actually children of Yahweh. That's why it also says that there is only one name given under the heavens to men by which they can be saved. Only one name, not the name that the world teaches, not the name that tradition kept, the true name, not the name that you may want to call them, just one name. So if they say that is this other name, and this other name, and this other name, let's say Yeshua, Jesus, etc., they say that is the same. How can it be the same? There are different names, there are different pronunciations, there are different meanings even in most cases. So Yahushua means Yahweh saves, the salvation of Yahweh. Yahushua. We already saw how Yahu shouldn't be a problem with nobody, because he's everywhere. He's even in the name of the Prime Minister of Israel, Yahu. So there shouldn't be an issue with Yahu. But there is still people go against it for many reasons. They say Yeshua. Yeshua means salvation in Hebrew. But salvation itself doesn't save you. It's Yahweh's salvation. It's the salvation that Yahweh sent. To pronounce salvation won't save you, but to pronounce or invoke that Yahweh will save you is different. That's why Romans 10:10 says that with the heart one believes for justification, but with the mouth one confesses for salvation. That's why there's only one name through which men can be saved. That is only one name above every name, and that name was given to the Messiah. So we should, if we worship Yahweh, if we honor Messiah and follow him as our sovereign king, high priest, etc., then we should respect him and use his true name, instead of disrespecting him by using the name of his enemy, which is what people end up doing without knowing. That's why Yahweh also said that he is a jealous mighty one. In Exodus 34:14 it says, for you shall worship no other Elohim, for Yahweh, whose name is jealous, not image, whose name is jealous, is a jealous mighty one. So people also get stuck here thinking about all the evil jealousy that they feel within them, not understanding the natural jealousy that comes when, for instance, and I'm just want to show how this is understood by all men if they actually are sincere in their hearts. let's say anybody who may not even have a partner, but thinking about it, let's say there's a couple who are married, they are having sex, intimacy, like when a person goes to pray, hidden to the Almighty, have intimacy with the Almighty. The woman is a representation of the congregation. The man is a representation of Yahweh, the Almighty. The marriage is a representation of the union between heaven and earth, the Father and humanity, as Paul said it. So, when a couple is having sex, it's a representation of when a person, a human, is connecting with the Creator. So, let's say a married couple are having sex and the female, by mistake or just because she thinks that it doesn't matter, starts calling out the name of her husband's enemy. Let's say her husband has an enemy in the neighborhood and his wife starts calling that name right when they are having sex. What would happen to that marriage? What would happen to the heart of that man? It's completely understandable. He would be hurt. He would be jealous. He would be angry. He perhaps won't want to have sex ever again with that person. A feeling that would come. Not necessarily that it may be the answer, but anybody can understand what that would feel like. And Yahweh is telling us here, for Yahweh, whose name is jealous, is a jealous mighty one. So when people invoke a different name while praying, it's pretty much as calling the name of an enemy when having intimacy with your partner. So it is huge when you actually think about it. Also, if you have a wedding contract, there is the name of the husband, the name of the wife. If by any chance the lawyer were to write a different name for the husband, that woman would be married to somebody else according to the law. No matter their feelings, no matter the truth, in writing, the contract is what matters. According to the law, she would be married to somebody else. The name that was written in that contract. That's why the enemy decided to write in scriptures his own name for people to invoke him instead of the Almighty Creator, Yahweh. Because the scriptures are the contract, the covenant that Yahweh made with humanity. So the enemy, through the scribes, decided to write his own name so that people would make a covenant with the enemy instead of their Creator. This is very important also. Jehovah, like I already said, can be translated as behold, ruin. Jesus can be translated in different ways, depending on how you pronounce it, because English, Jesus, Spanish, Jesus. So it can be translated as the vision of Zeus. God is Zeus in Greek. Also in Hebrew, behold the horse, as in the Trojan horse, through which the enemy is entering and destroying those who claim to believe. And in Latin, Jesus would be pig of the earth. Pig of the earth, which is a representation of the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, who is to appear in the end times as the false Messiah and whom people will accept. It is funny that the Greek emperor sacrificed a pig in the temple of Yahweh and they called it the abomination of desolation. So isn't it interesting that Jesus in Latin means pig of the earth? When the Messiah came, he spoke and taught the name of Yahweh, and people didn't like him for that. Well, the priests, they were against it. There is a book called the Toldot Yeshu, in which they, the Jewish people who did not accept Messiah, when I say Jewish, I don't mean Yahudim, I don't mean Israelites, I mean Jewish, those who people know as Jewish. They turned the name Yahushua into a curse. In the book of Acts 4:18 says, so they called them, pretty much the Pharisees called the disciples. So they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Yahushua. Do not speak at all or teach in that name. So they could go and teach whatever they wanted, but they had to use a different name, according to the Pharisees. Obviously, the disciples did not agree with the Pharisees, and they continued teaching the true name. Acts 5:28 says, saying, did we not strictly command you not to teach in this name? So that means that they kept doing it, and the Pharisees were angry and told them, but I thought we told you not to do it. Which is completely dumb for the Pharisees to do or expect. Acts 5:28 saying, did we not strictly command you not to teach in this name? And look, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood on us. Right after they said that his blood may fall on them and their children. Now they are blaming the disciples for it. That's hypocrisy to the fullest, which is the leaven of the Pharisees that Yahushua told us to watch for. So we see in Acts twice, and if you continue reading, the whole context is very interesting if you want to do it later, that the Pharisees forbid the disciples to speak or teach on the name Yahushua. So they switched it from Yahushua in the Toldot Yeshu, where they say that he entered the most set apart place, which they call Holy of Holies, and got the name of the Almighty and wrote it on his thigh. And through the pronunciation of the name of the Almighty, he was able to do all the miracles. That's what they say in their Toldot Yeshu. And they say that once there was one moment when the name got erased from his thigh, so he forgot the pronunciation, which is obviously dumb, but that's what they teach. So he forgot the pronunciation, and that moment is when they caught him. So they were able to catch him and kill him because he lost the pronunciation of the name according to their writings. In those writings, they call him Yeshu. The name that they give him is Yeshu, and that is the name that they continue to use until now, the Jewish people, Yeshu, which is a curse. From the Hebrew, Yamach Shemo Vetzikro. The translation of those three words would be, may his name be erased and his memory. May his name and memory be erased, destroyed, depending on the way you translate Yamach. So, Yamach Shemo Vetzikro is where they got Yeshu, which is a curse. Because of the fact that it is a curse, and it is actually commonly known for those who know a little bit of the Jewish tradition and stuff, they added a letter Ain to Yeshu, and that's where they got Yeshua, because the pronunciation Yeshua does mean salvation, but like I said, comes from Yeshu, not from Yahushua, because that's what they did in order to keep the pronunciation Yeshu within the name that the Messianics would use. So that's why most Christians who try to go to the roots end up getting stuck some form of Judaism. So they go from the name Jesus to the name Yeshua. That is the most common thing that you will see. Most people use Yeshua because that was pretty much the third change that the Pharisees made to the name of Messiah, the original. So the original name Yahushua is found throughout scriptures. Yahweh placed his name in the Torah through the successor of Moshe, whose name was Yahushua, but they switched it to Joshua. And also he gave that name to the high priest of the time of Zechariah. The successor of Moshe was born with the name Hoshea. Yahweh added a letter to the name and he turned it into Yahushua. The name of the high priest of Zechariah's time was Yeshua, as we see in the writings. But in Zechariah, Yahweh added a letter and turned it into Yahushua. Because there is one, like I repeat, one thing is salvation by itself, and one thing is Yahweh giving that salvation. Yahushua, Yahweh saving. So that's why Yahweh gives us those examples and many others throughout scriptures for us to know that the name of the Messiah would be Yahushua. So there are many proofs of this in scriptures. There shouldn't be an issue with the first three letters, Yahu, but there is because the Pharisees made a change. So they switched it from Yahushua to Yehoshua because of the E-O of Elohim. So E-O, Yehoshua. And that's how you will find it in the concordance. So that is almost positive, the fact that you'll be able to find that the name Jesus is not the name at all. In the concordance, you go and look for the name Jesus, which is a dictionary of all the words that are found in scriptures. You'll find Jesus in the Greek part, 2424 is the number of the word, and he will say that it is of Hebrew origin, and he will say that the true pronunciation is Yehoshua. So in the concordance you will find at least the first change that was made to the name, from Yahu to Yeho, Yahushua to Yehoshua. But then they switched it to Yeshu, and then they switched it to Yeshua, and then the Greeks came and switched it to Jesus because they didn't have the sound of the SH of the Shin in Hebrew, and they added us at the end of names when the name was of a male, and Zeus to honor Zeus, the god of the Greeks, who according to scriptures in Revelation 2, Zeus is Satan. Zeus is Satan. So they added Zeus at the end to give honor to Zeus, therefore to Satan. And that's how they ended up with Jesus. Well, like I said, Yahu to Yahushua, then to Yeshu, then to Yeshua. Then the Greeks, since they didn't have certain pronunciations and certain laws that they use for their names and words, they changed it to Jesus. And then in Latin, it continued that way until the letter J became a new thing, and the name changed to Jesus. Now, I just said that Zeus is Satan according to Revelation. The word God, we don't use it because Isaiah 60, and you can read it, Isaiah 65:11, depending on the translation you read, you will see that Yahweh tells the people that they were rebellious because they changed Yahweh for God. Some translations will translate God and they will write fortune. But if you go to the concordance, or if you go to another translation, you will see that it says that they stopped worshiping Yahweh to start worshiping God, as they do nowadays. God is the Elohim of fortune, that of luck. That's why luck in English is connected to the first three letters of Lucifer, because the luck of this world, the fortune, comes from the God of this world, God, Lucifer, Satan. So that's why we don't use that name, God. We don't use Lord either, because Lord, when you translate it to Hebrew, is Baal. If you get the word Baal in Hebrew and you translate it to English, you will say Lord. And as we know in scriptures, Baal is Satan. So God is Satan according to Isaiah 65:11. Lord is Satan according to the entire scriptures when it talks about Baal. And that's why we don't use those names that people call titles. The people that pronounce Yahshua is because they know that it makes no sense for the name to be Yeshua, so they try and switch the Ye to Yah for the first two letters of the name Yahweh. But still, they're taking one letter out. There are translations where they write it correctly in Hebrew, but when they transcribe it to English or Spanish, they write it Yahshua. So they take out the U, the Vav. So when they pronounce Yahshua, they're pronouncing it without one letter. They're taking out a letter. I think it's enough for people to understand the importance and the pronunciation and the reasons why it is pronounced that way. So hopefully this explanation will be clear enough.